What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FanDuel Sunday Night Recap presented by FanDuel. We throw it twice in there today. My name's Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts Jay, JL, and Invisible Josh. We'll hopefully be jumping in here any minute now. We are here to break down the main slate of today's games and give you a little preview of Sunday Night Football as well, and just hang out on this day after Christmas. Guys, how are you today?
Fantastic.
Doing
Merry
good.
freaking Christmas, everyone. Love you guys.
Happy holidays.
And
Happy
and I got the
Toyota-thon.
kombucha burps. Happy Toyota-thon. That's the last one I was looking for, Jay.
Yes.
Guys, like I said, we are here to break down today's games from a fantasy perspective. Before we jump into that, though, a couple reminders. Number one, if you're watching this, that means you're already on the FanDuel YouTube or Twitch channel. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and like this video. And if you're on Twitch, hit that follow button. Then head on over to Twitter, to TikTok, to Instagram, and find FanDuel at FanDuel on all of those platforms as well. There is an awesome team of content creators helping you win money and win your leagues. And we're getting down the wire, guys. It's week 16. Your championship's either happening right now or it's happening next week. So make sure you guys are following and get that good advice from FanDuel's awesome team of content creators. Whew. But guys,
Absolutely.
let's go ahead and start with our Sunday Night Football game that we've got coming up. I will go ahead and share my screen.
Should be a good one. Washington at Dallas.
Yes.
I will tell you guys, this game is having the Washington football team 9.5-point underdogs going into Dallas. So obviously Dallas, they're 9.5-point favorites. If I had to choose one of these teams with the spread, I would go with Dallas here. I think Dallas wins probably 30-20. I'll say 30-20, but I do not like that. If you can do a little math right there, 30 minus 20, that's 10. So
What?
I think they just cover the spread by just
You sure about
a
that?
little bit. Just a little bit.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think. Hold on. Yeah, I'm right. But the over-under is also 46 points, and I just said 30-20, so I would take the over. So I'm a little bit more confident about the over compared to the spread.
I
Please
hope
be the
so.
over.
Yeah, I hope so.
I need the Dallas players to go off. Please.
Amari
As long as it's
Cooper.
the Dallas players, because I need the Dallas defense to do good so I can make my championship. So, what about like 50-0 Dallas?
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'm cool with that as long as
Can
all
we work
50
on
of
that?
those points are touchdowns to Amari Cooper.
I'm
He
good.
can
And
throw
CeeDee
them
Lamb,
as well.
CeeDee Lamb and
CeeDee
Ezekiel
Lamb
Elliott.
can have one. That's fine. It's okay.
Anyone
CeeDee Lamb
fucking
to
like it.
Amari Cooper. Every single one is a Lamb pass to Cooper. How about
That's
that?
cool. Fine by
Well,
me. I
speaking
can
of those
handle that.
players, I actually, the two prop bets I have that I like are CeeDee Lamb over 5.5 receptions. So I like that right there because I think this is going to be a big CeeDee Lamb game. I don't think the Washington football team is typically very good at covering the slot receiver. I just think that they're going to feed CeeDee Lamb 5.5 receptions, taking the over there. And then Ezekiel Elliott, I love him as an anytime touchdown scorer tonight.
Yes, Josh. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on your side, JL. I'm on your side.
Also, come here now. Beach 89 wants to know, JL, was it you who bought all the Kenny Moore jerseys from the NFL
I
shop?
did.
Every single one
I
of them,
cannot
right?
lie. I cannot tell a lie about every single one.
I took them all.
I believe, if I remember correctly, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going for the world record of the world's largest Kenny Moore jersey quilt.
Yeah, I told
He's already
Guinness Book of
there.
World Records. I contacted them and they said, we don't care. Stop contacting us.
So we don't have space for this in our book,
Yeah. It says not impressive.
Also, guys, before we talk about this game a little bit more, we got some comments in the chat. Front Yard Fantasy. I wonder who put this in there. This is T. Higgins, Dynasty wide receiver 1.
I'm not sure,
He
actually.
had one heck of a game. Maria,
I'm not
what's
either,
up?
Josh, so
Welcome
it
in.
wasn't on us.
And Maria's saying, I didn't watch the game, so I need a recap. Looks like I came to the right place. I hope so. Or maybe it's the
Damn
wrong
straight.
place. We'll see. Come here now, Beach 89 says, refs robbed the Browns SMH. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I don't remember a Browns game, so I'm not sure.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't
Yeah,
happen
remember
right
it.
there. Also, Herms in here said, hello, FYF. Why do Steelers make me sad? Send help, please. We got a lot of sad AFC North fans on the show today.
Yeah.
The only
you
team
really
not
do.
represented is the only happy team in the AFC North this weekend. It's a sad conference. Maria said, I assume we missed this. Do y'all think the Bears win? 30 seconds left. Do we have an update on that
I
one?
do. I do think they win. It's not
Did
over
they
yet,
win?
but it's over. They won. They won.
Josh with the Scott Fish
Nick
special
Foles,
prediction on
watch
that
out.
one.
Yeah.
Also, Albert wanted to know, is Gibson active? So I see on here it's listed as a game time decision. Josh, do we have any updates on Antonio Gibson's availability for this game?
I still have not. I don't think they've released officially if he's active or not. If I had to guess, I would say yes, but you got to keep an eye out for it. I mean, you waited this long. Maybe Jared Patterson's probably a good pivot if Antonio Gibson's out.
Yeah. Also, Kevin here saying, Bird up, Kev. What's up? Welcome into the show. Josh, were there any other player props on this game that you wanted to talk before we moved on to our first game of the day?
No, I was looking through them, and I do not feel very confident in a lot of them. It's going to be a weird game. This is we get Taylor Heineke coming back. We kind of want to see how this offense comes together. The Washington football team, both offense and defense-wise, they've been so inconsistent throughout the year. The Cowboys have a pretty good defense, but I do think this is going to be a higher-scoring game than what one might expect. So 30-20, like I said.
30-20, like you said. Also, as of 13 seconds ago, I am seeing that Antonio Gibson is dressed and on the field. Curtis Samuel,
well, that's
inactive.
Good. Glad he's not naked.
He's dressed. He's not. Yeah, he's not naked on the sidelines. So Antonio Gibson, fully clothed. Great job. He's at least healthy enough to put his own pants on. So he's out there on the sidelines right there. Guys, we are going to move into our first game of the day today. The New York Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles is the first one we're going to be talking about. And Jay, you might want to close your ears for this one. The Eagles ran away with this one, winning 34-10.
And Jay, don't worry, I'll cover this one here. I'll talk about it a little bit.
I appreciate that, because there's a lot to talk about with this game from the Giants' perspective.
And you told yourself
Giants,
you wouldn't cry.
Do they have the worst offense in the NFL?
Easily. Jay Wall texted me, our buddy Jay Wall, who's an Eagles fan. It was, like, why I'm texting you, right? And I said, if you're texting me to brag about beating Jake Fromm and Mike Lennon, then I feel sorry for you, honestly. Like,
I was about to say, I heard you say Jake
game.
Fromm. Jake Fromm was benched for Mike Lennon, and Mike Lennon played so much better.
Jay Wall's pseudo-kind shit talk is the worst. He does it to me too. Like, he'll text me like, "Hey, how you holding up, bud?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. Just so good." And he's like, "Oh, I meant the Browns game because they just lost." Like, oh, thanks, Jay Wall.
Hey guys, can anyone name a worse offense than the Giants right now?
Well, I thought it was the Houston Texans, but apparently not.
We'll get into them in a little bit because what somehow okay, we'll get into that. But the Houston Texans,
Burkhead, dynasty wide receiver 1.
Yeah. What? Anyway, Jake Fromm, he got the start today, but he got benched for Mike Lennon, who looked a little bit better, but no, he just didn't. He looked horrible too. This whole offense is a mess, like we were just saying. But you knew coming into this game, you couldn't really trust most of the options on this offense. There was one you thought you might be able to trust, though. It was Saquon Barkley. You thought you might be able to trust Saquon Barkley, but he was super disappointing. Listen, he had 15 carries, 32 yards, 1 catch for -4 yards, had 3.3 fantasy points on 15 carries. You would assume he had a much better game. Well, I mean, Devontae Booker had 6 carries and was better.
He almost doubled the number of yards he had compared to carries. That's got to be pretty good, right?
Oh man, this was sad to see.
It's really sad.
So listen, we kind of came into this game thinking we were trusting him as a running back too, right, guys? Coming into this game, I would say most of us. Yeah. So they play Chicago next week.
I would say more of a. You have to play him as a running back too.
Yeah, like the other option. I mean, I think we were all saying like still start Ronald Jones, all the backup, like Justin Jackson, even like these guys. I think we were leaning towards over Saquon, but that still made Saquon a running back too when it all came down to it. So in week 17, next week, going into the fantasy championships for a lot of people, they played the Chicago Bears. They're playing in Chicago. We're a middling team against fantasy running backs. So I have got 4 names here I want to go over. So would you rather start Saquon Barkley or Sony Michel? Even if Darrell Henderson could play. Because I'm going Sony Michel. Sony Michel's playing Baltimore, by the way. Sony Michel's playing Baltimore, one of the best rush defenses. But I'm still going Sony Michel.
I'll take Saquon with the Baltimore info right there.
Okay.
I know
Joe Mixon looked A-okay today.
He did.
But he's a different level.
Well, and a lot of that came through the air as well. He had a decent game through the air.
Yes. JL, I want Sony Michel or Saquon next week.
I hate this. Assuming Daniel Jones isn't back, it's Sony Michel.
Jones is done for the year, so he's definitely
okay. Then most definitely Sony Michel.
Yeah,
barring a miracle.
So I've got 3 other names. Devin Singletary, because Devin Singletary is playing Atlanta. I'm going Devin Singletary.
I'll go Devin Singletary there. That's disgusting.
Devontae Freeman, who's playing the Rams. At home against the Rams. I'm going Devonta Freeman.
I
don't love it.
What a stupid game we're playing, Josh. This is the
I know.
worst game.
It's Saquon Barkley
The
we're
day
talking
after
about, an elite
Christmas, we're
talent,
gonna
right?
do this. I'll go Saquon.
I'm
You're
still
gonna
going Saquon in that one.
JL.
His offense is just so bad. It's just
so
so
bad.
freaking bad. Like, how can
But
you
realistically,
trust him
what's Freeman's upside? Like, you can at least see Barkley breaking a long touchdown or getting a
I'm
couple of
going with
receptions.
Saquon.
I
I'm
think
going with
Freeman
Saquon.
is
I'll
more
freaking
likely
sink and
to
drown.
get a 1 yard carry on the goal line, right?
Let's put it
in my
this way:
opinion.
if you're the underdog and you need a lot of points, go with Saquon. But if you need a
one
safe
more
double-digit points, then I'd go Freeman.
One more, Michael Carter against Tampa Bay, of a very good rush defense as well.
Saquon.
I'm
Give
going
me
Michael
Saquon.
Carter.
I'll go Michael Carter in that one because of his usage in the passing game, hopefully against a tough Tampa Bay rush defense.
He only had 2 catches today. He
it was
wasn't
only
used a
2
whole lot
today.
in the passing game. So think I'm gonna still go Barkley on that one. It's it's only because of the matchup.
So who are the 2 guys I said I would start Barkley over? It was Freeman and Michelle, I think, were the 2 that I went Barkley, and then Carter, and who was the other name?
Carter and Devin
Singletary. Gross, Josh. What an awful game.
I'm sorry, I had to do it. But I want to tell you, going into the fantasy championships next week, we are not starting any of these other Giants. Maybe Saquon. It looks like we're starting him over a couple guys still. But on the Eagles side,
not feel confident about it.
Evan Ingram's in the glob. He's in the tight end glob. If you need a tight end and you got to reach into the glob, he's globbable. But outside of that, I think he's globbable. He's not your top choice in the glob, but he's not that much worse than the other players in that tight end glob.
So on the Eagles side of the ball, it's a little bit better. Jalen Hurts was fine, but he didn't run a lot. So he had 17 completions, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 2 carries for 7 yards, though. But he didn't really have to run, so why risk it, right? They play the Washington football team next week, so Hurts will be a back-end quarterback 1 for me going into next week. Do you guys agree or disagree? Is Jalen Hurts a back-end quarterback 1 for you next week? I think he's got to be with his rushing upside still. And the Washington football team defense doesn't necessarily scare me. Jay, let me ask you, do you think he's a back-end quarterback 1?
Absolutely. I think, the rushing upside, he's got a pretty safe floor. All he has to do is have a decent passing day, and he no hesitation for me.
How about you, Simon?
Yeah, he's at a minimum a back-end quarterback 1. I find it hard to move him out of the top 12. He's probably likely even like a mid-tier QB1 for me, just as a baseline for what I expect from Jalen Hurts. Doesn't matter what the matchup is.
You with us, JL? Or like, are you saying he's a quarterback 1? And if so, is he more of a mid-range or a back-end 1?
I see him more, definitely back-end 1. I think it's fair. It's definitely fair.
All right, so he's a top 12 quarterback next week. So people, you're still starting Jalen Hurts. You might be a little bit disappointed with this game, but it wasn't like a killer either, right? However, another thing that happened in this game, Miles Sanders, he got knocked out of the game with a hand injury. We do not know the extent of it yet, but can we trust any of the other Eagles running backs next week? With, let's say Miles Sanders is out, I'm not trusting Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, or Kenneth Gainwell. I'm not playing this game. We played this game before, and we know it could be.
We lost every time.
We always lose, right? Yeah. I'm not playing it. Are you playing it, JL?
No.
I'm not playing it. Simon, you playing it?
I played this week, and I lost. I started Miles Sanders, and you know what? I don't think I'll have the opportunity to play again because I think every league where I have Miles Sanders, I'm knocked out. So I'm done. I'm done playing this game for the year. And you know what? I'll be back next year to try again.
Fair enough. So we're going to try to stay away from the Eagles running backs if we can. I know there's going to be people in some bad situations. Maybe there's some COVID concerns and you might have to start one of these guys. If you have to start to, I mean, Boston Scott got the 12 carries and the touchdown. So I guess it would have to be him if Miles Sanders was out. But again, I'm trying to avoid it. All right. And then Devonta Smith. He had a good game. He actually looked very impressive. He made some highlight plays, 5 catches, 80 yards, and he scored a touchdown himself. Devonta Smith is he's a starter going into next week as well because he's maybe a top end wide receiver 3, back end wide receiver 2. Anyone kind of disagree with that? He's a starter, right?
He's a starter in most situations, unless you've just got a stacked roster, which at this point in redraft dynasty leagues where you're going to the championship, maybe you do. Yeah. But especially in like a DFS format, he's the kind of guy he can get a touchdown on any given week. He's that kind of player. So I like Devonta Smith. He's a starter.
And Dallas Goedert had a disappointing game, but I am telling you guys, he's still in your lineup unless you have one of the elite options. I'll start Gronk. I'll start the elite options, but Dallas Goedert, feel confident about him if you still are in the championship.
Jalen Hurts missed Dallas Goedert. He's wide open in the end zone. That would have completely changed his day.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be too concerned with the tight end landscape right now. You're starting Dallas Goedert, I think, in 99% of situations. Unless
I'll be honest with you. I think I'd start Goddard over Gronk. The way that Gronk didn't get a ton of usage. Yeah, I think I would.
I would go with Gronk. I would still go with Gronk, but I'm not gonna say you're dumb for doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I am.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're dumb for doing that, Jay.
I'm not gonna say you're dumb for doing it. I'm just gonna think it.
How about JL? Gronk or Goddard going?
No. Why did I speak up?
Goddard's playing the Washington football team. I know that.
Well, I was gonna say that we could put a gentleman's bet on it for next week, but there are two people on the stream
now. I'll write it on the board right now
that have to pay up a bet from last week regarding the Sunday night game.
There was a bet.
I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh, I didn't look back at it. We never vetted it.
Yeah,
we never vetted it.
I don't know. Simon's not here anymore.
And there goes.
But that honestly, all in all, that's all for this game. Maybe I can change the topic because I think I lost said bet. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next game.
Let's move on.
Going into next week, to summarize real fast, you're probably starting Saquon Barkley, but you're going to feel really bad about it. You're starting Jalen Hurts. You're starting Devonta Smith, most likely, and you're definitely still starting Dallas Goedert. And you're trying to avoid the Eagles running backs if you can.
Yep, guys, our next game that we're going to be talking about today, New York Jets versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jets were able to take home the W 26-21, and Zach Wilson had himself a pretty good game today.
Not necessarily. Yes, they won the game, but it wasn't really
50-yard run.
Yeah. Right. But
you're gonna say 23 points from Zach Wilson is not a pretty good game for him.
So, well, I'm looking at the passing aspect of it, and he threw for 100 yards. So,
102, Jay.
Yes. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah,
102 yards, 102. But I'm going to start on the Jacksonville side of the ball.
Okay.
The Jaguars wound up losing more than just the game as James Robinson went down with a non-contact injury. Oh, I gotta go ahead, baby.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, I will. Sorry, guys. Go.
Oh no!
What?
Is mommy
I'm
going?
gonna go find mommy.
What,
You're
baby?
good, James.
I'll be right back, guys. I'm sorry.
Listen up. If mommy's gone, I could talk. I could talk some Jaguars. I was watching this game pretty hard. Like Trevor Lawrence.
Hey,
you stop that! You stop that right now.
I'm sorry. He's playing the Jets. Throws 39 times and only scores 10.9 fantasy points.
He has no head coach.
I don't care if he has no head coach. If you're an elite talent, you should be able to overcome it a little bit. All right, Trevor Lawrence. This has been a bust season. I don't care how you want to frame it. Yes, Urban Meyer was a disaster. This team has been a disaster. This team doesn't have a lot of talent. He doesn't have one of his best weapons, but Trevor Lawrence has had a bust season. I'm not saying he's going to have a bust career. I still am slightly optimistic about next year, but I'm sorry. It's disappointing.
Yeah,
you can't tell me it's not.
It's been a disappointing year, but I wouldn't write him off yet. I think he's still got all the talent in the world. And come here now, Beach 89 said he's winning MVP next year because you did that, Josh. You just
good. Prove me wrong. I don't care. 9 touchdowns. You started the entire season.
That's terrible.
Step it up.
We did have a question from Come Here Now Beach 89 wanting to know, will we be covering fantasy basketball at all? You don't want us to cover fantasy basketball. Maybe Josh. Josh won the title last year. We can cover it, but we do not know much.
Don't you dare say – why are you saying technicality when you just messed up? You made a mistake. You call it a technicality.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say.
The
technicality, all right?
And
I don't remember what the technicality was.
Who's in first place this year?
It's me. I'm first place.
No, you're not. There's no way.
Also, Come Here Now Beach 89 has a trivia question for us. Which president is from Nebraska?
I'm in first place. I'm in first place.
Is this a joke?
On
And
technicality.
the answer's Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm just kidding.
I'm
It's
back.
Lincoln.
Sorry about that, guys.
I'm
The
gonna
joys,
go
with,
joys of being a father. We found mom.
Okay, thank God. I was worried about that.
All
so do you guys
right,
have a
all
guess
right,
for the
so-
presidential trivia? Which president is from Nebraska before we continue?
Adams, Wilson,
I'll say
Carlos.
Chester Arthur.
Arthur.
Jay, what's
George
your guess?
Washington.
George Washington. Okay, sorry.
It wasn't a state then, but I like it.
Jay, while you were gone, we discussed Trevor
Wait, was
Lawrence. I
it?
believe the
I think it
analysis was.
Yes.
So
That's
we got that
fair.
covered. If you want to pick back up on the James Robinson stuff.
Yeah, let me pull up my notes. Apologies about that. I've got two
Come-
young children
Real
who
fast,
decided they. Okay.
Was this a
okay.
bust season for Trevor Lawrence, Jay?
Yes, and actually that jumps into the question that I was going to ask about
Ooh,
Trevor
interesting.
Lawrence. So Trevor Lawrence, obviously things were very ugly this season. It was a disappointment, but we all know. I heard you guys talking about it. Urban Meyer was a complete disaster. So
Yes.
are you guys giving Trevor Lawrence a mulligan? There's some talks of maybe Byron Leftwich coming in and becoming the head coach, which I would love for Trevor Lawrence. I think Byron Leftwich is a fantastic offensive mind. But one, what is your dynasty value for Trevor Lawrence? And two, are you giving him a mulligan for this season? And Josh, we'll start with you.
I mean, sure, I'll give him a mulligan, but that still doesn't take away from how bad this season has been for him. I'm really disappointed. I'd like to see at least some kind of upside at some point. I know his first game of the season was the best game he had, and he threw 3 interceptions in that game. So, like, I don't know. I wanted to see something a little bit more special from him, right? So I know he's in a bad situation, like I said, but he's much, 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 much lower in my dynasty rankings than he was coming into the season.
He's still.
I'd rather have Justin Fields in fantasy.
I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence than Justin Fields still.
Ooh,
I think we've seen good and bad from both of those guys this year. But Trevor Lawrence is still a top 12 dynasty quarterback for me right now. But he's at the back end of that top 12 now. He's probably number 12 exactly, with Tua showing up this year a little bit. I have Tua moving ahead of him based on what we've seen. But he's still a top 12 dynasty quarterback.
I don't even think calling it a bad situation does it justice. Like this is his, like he had a coach who had a historically bad first season where he gets fired in the first season and the team falls apart around him. He has no weapons, and he's a rookie, right? He's a rookie going to the worst team in the NFL as the first overall pick. So you got to give him a little bit more time for just on that alone. But then factoring in all the other stuff that Justin Fields' team, while Matt Nagy has not made the greatest decisions throughout the year, he's still worlds above
just
what.
As bad as Urban Meyer.
I don't think it's just
you can't argue like the team has not fallen apart in the same way that the Jaguars has fallen apart. Nagy still has a job.
The Jaguars
right?
is a worse team. The Bears have a lot of good pieces that are completely missing.
Right. I don't think the Jaguars do. So you're expecting you're having a rookie player, a rookie QB come in with virtually nothing, no support. And while I wish I would have seen more that we saw in college from Trevor Lawrence this year, I think it's a mistake to extrapolate this is all on Trevor Lawrence. So this is what it's going to be like going forward. I think if they can get some good leadership in there, turn it around, Trevor Lawrence's value is going to shoot back up. So in my mind, he's a great value.
And he had his problems in college. Part of what the problem is, Joe, it's not just that we didn't see what we saw in college. We also saw what we saw in college that were issues continue in the pros with no one really there to help him develop, staring down his receivers. Like Trevor Lawrence, that's his number one issue right now. It seems like he just stares down his first read and can't get past it. And that's something that's coachable. So hopefully they get someone in there that can help him out going into next year because he's got the talent. But yeah, Josh, it was rough this year. It's got to be a bust season for him. I don't know any other way to put it. FanDuel said Mac Jones, rookie of the year. At least rookie quarterback of the year. I don't know who else they would throw that one over there.
As much as I hate to say anything good about the Cowboys, I think it should be Micah Parsons, although it won't be. It'll probably be Mac Jones.
Well, they have defensive and offensive too, right?
Yeah,
sure. But sure.
Rookie of the year. And FanDuel coming in just with the James Robinson frowny face.
Oh yeah, that's
torn
right.
Achilles.
About it, but yeah, it's
Did while I was dealing with my children, did we touch on James Robinson yet?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so it is confirmed a torn Achilles. He's going to have an MRI tomorrow to determine the extent of the damage. But no matter what the MRI says tomorrow, he's going to have a long road ahead of recovery. But Dare Ngubawale stepped in and had 17 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown, added 2 catches for 15 yards. Going into championship week, if you guys are desperate for a running back, are you picking up and starting Ngubawale? Josh?
You'd have to be pretty freaking desperate. I mean, we talked about some running backs earlier where it's like, yeah, I would start all those guys over Dare, you know, like the Devonta Freemans of the world, Devin Singletary, Saquon Barkley's. But when we get down to like,
well, I got to wait. Wait. I got a name game coming.
Okay, go ahead.
JL, are you willing to start?
I'm with Josh. I'm with Josh. You got to be really desperate.
Yeah.
Simon?
Yeah, I'm with these guys. He's startable, but not. I don't want to start him.
I've got a couple. I got a couple names for you: Mike Davis or Ngubawale.
Well, Albert also in here saying Jags play the Patriots next week, so that's even rougher.
Mike Davis plays Buffalo next week, and he had 7 carries for 28 yards and 1 catch.
That's why.
Okay, you know what? If you're choosing between Mike Davis and Dare Ngubawale, there's no way you're playing in the championship next week.
That's not true. That's not necessarily true.
That's
Deeper
not true
leagues,
because
that
I
will go
James
Dare
Robinson and Miles Sanders in my home league that I could win if I get 11 points out of the Dallas defense and McLaurin this evening. So I'm going to be looking for some.
Let me amend my statement. If you're picking between Dare Ngubawale and Mike Davis, you're not going to win your fantasy championship.
But what if you're loaded? You have like the best run. You have Jonathan Taylor loaded at tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, and then
you're right. There's a league I'm in where I might make the championship where I started Amir Abdullah and Rex Burkhead at running back this week. Or not Rex Burkhead. Yeah. Wrong name. Chuba Hubbard.
I started Rex
Burkhead would have really launched me to the championship. But
anyway, to answer your question, Jay, I would personally start Dare in that example over Mike Davis.
I would too.
I would as
just
well.
The upside. The unknown upside there is worth it. There's no upside.
I'll pick 2 more. Dontrell Hilliard.
I'll go Hilliard. That's a close
Hilliard
one.
had 5 carries for 20 yards and 2 catches this past week. I think I'm going to go Dare.
Returning for the bye, he hasn't broken double-digit points. Yep, I'm going to go Dare as well. And then one more for you. Granted, he hasn't played this week, but looks like Duke Johnson has turned this into a committee. Myles Gaskin or Dare?
Gaskin.
If Gaskin gets the same work he got last week, then it's an easy Dare. If Gaskin gets the majority of work tonight, then I probably lean Gaskin.
Tomorrow, I think.
Or tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Yeah. That's a wait and see for me as well.
You're kind of with me though.
Yeah.
I want to see what the split is.
Me too.
If Duke Johnson really does not have a role tomorrow night, then it's the same situation as the other guys. Like if I have to play one of the 2 guys, I'm going to go for whichever one has the higher upside in my mind.
And they both could look bad because they're playing the Saints. Let's be honest. You know, the Miami Dolphins are playing the Saints, so they could split work and both be very inefficient. Then we could be stuck in a weird situation.
Yeah,
and going up against Tennessee, who's been decent against the run next week. So I do think if it's still a split, I lean Dare, but otherwise, if Gaskin's getting the full workload, then would lean him as well. So because Carlos Hyde's on the IR, so he won't be back for that game as well. And now James Robinson out long term. But on the Jets side of the ball, like we were talking about earlier.
Well, real fast, can we answer this real fast? Daryl Williams or Agumawale. I can't do it. But Daryl Williams had 11 carries for 55 yards and 3 catches. I probably am still going to lean Dare here over Williams, just because I think this game got out of hand. They stopped using Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's a big reason
he
why
got hurt though.
He got injured, collarbone issue. I want to see whether that injury is if long term, if that keeps him out.
Who, Williams or CEH got hurt?
CEH got a collarbone issue that took him out of the game.
Wow, I missed that completely actually. But yeah, if Williams is the only running back there, it's an easy Williams. This is super easy.
We had a question from Alan in here. What do you think of Rex Burkhead for next week? Josh, do you have an opinion on Rex Burkhead going to next week? You said you started him in a league, right?
I did start him in a league. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't really want to. It was like kind of an emergency COVID situation where I can't remember. It was a flex spot that I like. It might have been Mike Williams. I had my flex, and like Rex Burkhead just was the best option. But can you start him going next week? They play the 49ers, who don't necessarily have a good rush defense. Oh no, Rex Burkhead or Saquon Barkley, guys.
Ooh.
If Johnson's out, I think it's Rex Burkhead.
It probably is. And he looked good. Rex Burkhead actually looked good today. He looked good.
I don't trust the Texans offense at all, even though they were going today. Like, I think it's just.
Do you trust the Giants offense though?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not. I know they scored 41
with the talent
today or something ridiculous like that, but I'm not going with. I'll go with Saquon. Give me Saquon.
Okay, that's fair.
That one hurts. That one really
I lean Burkhead, and it makes me want to throw up, but I do lean Burkhead on that.
I'll go Burkhead.
Not
unless Johnson's out.
We'll jump on the Jets side of the ball real quick. Like we were talking about earlier, Wilson did have a good fantasy day. Not a good passing day, but did wind up with 102 yards, 1 touchdown, and 91 rushing yards, and another touchdown as well. So fantasy-wise, he looked all right. He's still got a long ways to go to live up to that number 2 overall pick. But Michael Carter showed why many people were excited for him. Earlier in the year, he was producing. One thing, like we were talking about earlier, Simon, earlier in the year when Wilson was not under center, he was getting his value by catching the ball. This game, he got it from rushing the ball. So that has to be exciting for his future value. 118 yards on 16 attempts. He had 7.4 yards per carry, and he chipped in 2 catches as well. And he, like we were talking about earlier, he does face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 17. So, Simon, we'll start with you and work our way up. Are you locked in starting Michael Carter next week, even with the tough matchup against the Bucs?
Not locked in, but he's startable. He's a player that you can plug in, but he's not a locked-in
running back 2
starter.
Flex.
He's a flex. He's a flex kind of play next week in my eyes. But there's probably 20, 25 running backs that you could start ahead of him. But he's still flex worthy.
J.O., what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Simon.
Woohoo!
Simon summed it up well. There's probably about 20, 25 running backs that you can start over Michael Carter, but that probably makes him a starter in most leagues out there. So you probably are starting Michael Carter next week. I'm a little bit nervous about it. A little bit. He did get the most carries, 16 carries. That's great. But when you see Tevin Coleman give 14 carries, they were winning the game. They were kind of ahead. They were kind of trying to run the ball. And I just don't know if that's going to be the same game script next week when they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have a very good rushing defense. So you got to be a little concerned. He's a flex play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Said that you're not comfortable, but the way, with COVID, with all the injuries to running backs, he's probably going to be in most lineups the way he's played. So, and honestly, when it comes to the pass catchers for the Jets, it's not really much you want to talk about. So I think we can just roll into the next game.
We're going to move on to our next game, guys. The Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots. The Bills ended up winning this one 33-21. And guys, man, we weren't even sure if Damian Harris was going to play in this game. There was a question. Is Damian Harris going to play? Oh, maybe Ramondre Stevenson's a great start if Harris is out. Harris played, and he got 3 touchdowns, 18 carries, 103 yards for 3 touchdowns in this game. Josh, if Harris plays, how do you view him? Is he a top 10 guy? Was this a great game from him? How do you view Harris when he's healthy and active?
It all depends if Ramondre Stevenson is healthy. And Ramondre Stevenson did not play in this game. And Damian Harris got the work. But if Ramondre Stevenson is in there, he's going to take some of these carries. So Harris got 18 carries, right? 103 yards. At least 6 of those carries are going to Ramondre Stevenson in a normal game script. Maybe Brandon Bolden might not get his carries in that case. So maybe, Damian Harris still gets 12 carries and he's a touchdown threat, but Ramondre Stevenson's also a touchdown threat. So that's concerning. When both of these guys are playing, it just lowers both their ceilings and both their floors really. So I would play Damian Harris, even with Ramondre Stevenson, over like a Michael Carter per se. But, so he's probably a back end running back too. When it comes down
back end running back too. I'm with you there. Also, Jay Wall, Merry Christmas to you as well. Happy holidays. Hope yours was great. Guys, Mac Jones had a pretty awful game today, though. So him and all of the pass catchers, not much to say on that front. I will ask, though, JL, if you have to start one of these pass catchers next week, is it Kendrick Bourne? Is that the one that you want to be starting, or would you rather plug Jacoby Myers in for the championship?
No, it's Jacoby Myers. I think this question came up a few weeks ago. We were discussing a similar thing. I'm following the targets. Jacoby Myers, 8 targets compared to Kendrick Bourne's 4 targets. That's where I want to go. I want to look for opportunity here, and it's Jacoby Myers pretty consistently throughout the season.
You want to go with Jacoby Myers?
I want to go.
That's what you say.
That's what I said.
Josh or Jay, would I?
No, but you don't feel comfortable starting him, no. Right? Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's just put that out.
The question was,
I'm not comfortable starting either of these.
Yeah.
No, I just came in late there, and I heard you say I want Jacoby Myers.
No. The question was, if I had to pick one of them, which would it be? And if I had to pick, it would be Jacoby Myers.
Okay, Jay, and if you had to pick two. Jay, if you had to pick 2 between Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne, which 2 would you pick?
Jacoby Myers and Jacoby Myers.
Okay, perfect. Guys, on the Buffalo side of this ball, on that note, I'm just kidding. Jay, would it be Jacoby Myers or Kendrick Bourne for you? I thought I heard you dissenting from JL.
Jacoby Myers. I think he's a safer
one
play.
Dissenting opinion. But I'm with you guys on that front. On the Buffalo side of this ball, great game for Josh Allen. Hopefully you plugged him into some of your lineups. So he was not the top quarterback on the day. I'm sure we will talk about the QB that outplayed him. But everyone was all excited to get to start Gabriel Davis this week. Fire up your Gabriel Davis. And then he ended up getting put on the COVID list as well. So I guess we should have all been excited to fire up our Isaiah McKenzie's this week. 23.9 FanDuel fantasy points, 11 receptions, 125 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. And you know what? Just throw a negative rushing yard onto that as well. They gave him the ball over there. JL, if the landscape of these Buffalo Bills wide receivers stays the same going into next week, so we had Gabriel Davis out. We had multiple players out here. Is Isaiah McKenzie a player that you're interested in starting, or was this just a boom week from a healthy body and a high-powered offense?
No, what I think this is the Patriots effect. When I was watching this game, they were heavily targeting Stephon Diggs on the defensive side of this, and I think Isaiah McKenzie was the benefit of that. And so I don't expect that next week. I don't recall who they're playing next week.
They were playing the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, then I'm maybe. I'm a little interested. I'm a little interested. So they're like one of 2 or 3 teams.
You Falcons, you say?
Yeah, Falcons. Oh, Arthur Smith. Okay. Then if absolute emergency, sure. Like, I'm fine throwing them in your lineup.
So Albert in here saying Miles Sanders has a fractured hand. And Albert, I read that as Miles Sanders has a fractured head at first, and I'm very relieved it's a hand, but that's still not good news.
I'm not, because I have him on my team that is likely going to the championship.
That's rough. Hopefully he's able to pull through.
And James Robinson too. So yeah.
So it sounds like you might be starting someone like Dare. I don't know.
Exactly. That's why I brought the question up. Definitely not.
We talked a bit about Devin Singletary already, guys. So I think we're all in agreement that he's kind of a RB2, back-end RB2 flex type player that you can plug in if needed. Yeah. He's someone that we're talking about in the Saquon Barkley category, in that territory right there. So we've covered that a bit. The last player I wanted to talk about, though, was Dawson Knox. Only 2 receptions, 11 yards, but he did get the touchdown. The Patriots are phenomenal at defending tight ends. It's one of their specialties. Tight ends don't perform against the Patriots. This was a Christmas gift to people who started Dawson Knox that he got. And
it was a weird touchdown. Josh Allen looked like he was going to run, and he flung it underhanded to Dawson Knox. It was really a Christmas gift for people that started Dawson Knox, aka me, in one league.
So that was your Christmas present. Start him with full confidence next week against the Falcons. I know this wasn't his best game, but this was about as good of a game as a tight end can have against the Patriots. So you're pretty happy with that. Guys, unless you've got something else, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next game, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Minnesota Vikings. Anything else on this one real quick, guys?
No.
Then let's move on. Los Angeles Rams versus the Minnesota
I thought we were
Vikings.
skipping past that game. I was like, no, we should probably still talk about that game.
That was a good one.
That's kind of a good one. Maybe the best game of the day. Close to it.
It was. I watched a lot of this one. It was a great game.
Me too. That's weird. I feel like for some reason everybody watched this game. Snake Jazz for the win.
Okay.
In our other league, I'm playing Ryan, and my team name is Snake Jazz, and it's going to be close, but I'm hoping to win.
Hopefully you got it.
We'll see.
Best of luck.
Also, J-Wall with the most important update of the day. Simon avoided last place in his league and doesn't have to do the punishment.
Is there a punishment?
I made it. There is a punishment in that league, and I was one loss away from being the last place team.
Let's go, Simon.
We made it.
Let's
That
go.
was my worst league I've ever been in. Worst team I've ever made.
All right, so this LA Rams Minnesota game. LA Rams came out on top 30-23 against the Vikings. The total in this game was at 48.5, so they hit the over on it, and the Rams are favored to win by 3 points. So they certainly covered the spread. Oh, this was definitely an interesting game. I know Scott Fish was at this game. I'm pretty sure Joe Holka proposed to his cheerleader girlfriend at this game, who's another FanDuel content creator. But yeah, so on the Rams side of the ball, with Matt Stafford, he had a pretty disappointing game. Sorry?
I didn't want to say congrats, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Congratulations.
If you're watching, Joe.
Yeah.
Not just a statement of fact. Congratulations. So.
Yes. So Matthew Stafford, pretty disappointing game. 3 interceptions, passed for under 200 yards. I think he had around 9.68 fantasy points in PPR format, which doesn't matter for quarterbacks. I wouldn't be too worried
unless
about
he gets a catch.
Matthew Stafford, unless he gets a catch, which he did not.
Yeah. No.
Darrell Henderson, pretty disappointing on the rushing side of the Rams here. Darrell Henderson only had 1 rushing attempt for 17 yards. I started Darrell Henderson in more than one league, so it's not great.
He did have a knee sprain. He has a sprained knee, but like that was like halfway through the game. Like he was Sony Michel's the starting running back for this team.
Right.
Yeah, I think it has to do still with his other injuries. They're easing him back in, and this certainly doesn't help this new aggravation. But Sony Michel, he had 27 attempts for 131 yards and a touchdown, 20.5 points and fantasy points in PPR leagues. Sony Michel, where does he finish next week? Where do you guys think Sony Michel finishes next week? We'll start with you, Jay.
They're playing Baltimore. They are
playing Baltimore.
It's a tough rush defense, but Joe Mixon played really well. This offense is really clicking. I could see it. You know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I say he finishes as a RB1, a back-end RB1. The way
back-end RB1?
I think he's playing really well. He's getting the volume. This offense looks good. Yeah, I say back-end RB1. That may or may not have to do with that I'm going to wind up starting him next week because I lost James Robinson and Miles Sanders. But volume is king, and he's getting it right now. 27
attempts. Josh, are you on the same page as Jay?
I'm not. I think he could absolutely finish as a back-end running back one, but I'm not starting him as one. And I know that's something different, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's more of a mid-level running back 2, high-end running back 2. So Baltimore's defense is good at defending the run. I know Joe Mixon had a good game. He scored touchdowns. He was involved in the passing game. Sonny Michel, while he's been somewhat involved in the passing game, he's not Joe Mixon, and you can tear apart this Ravens team throwing the football, okay? Throwing to your wide receivers. Our cornerbacks are decimated. So I like Sonny Michel a lot. He's just mid-level, high-end running back 2. I'll stay with that.
High-end running back 2, back-end running back 1 from Jay. Simon, where are you putting Sonny Michel next week?
High-end RB2. That's exactly where I'll put him. I'm with Josh entirely. He's got that upside to finish as an RB1, but I'll lay him out as an RB2. That's what I think. Did you guys hit this question from James yet while we're talking about Sony Michel?
We've got to mention that Cam Akers could possibly play next week. I'm not saying he was activated yesterday.
So I will say the reason I've read that in order for him to work towards his pension, he needed to be active for 3 more games this season. So it seems like it was the Rams doing him a solid, getting him this year counts towards your pension more so than them expecting him to play. That's what it sounds like. Yes, you're right. He technically could play next week, but I think
regardless, I wouldn't say it's a problem. But I just wanted to mention, I don't think it would be a problem for Sony.
Yeah, they said, but before he's really into game action, it's likely going to be the playoffs, and he's not going to get any type of full workload. So I'm not worried about it for Sony Michel's volume.
Yeah. So Simon brought up. We have a question here from James. He's got Sony Michel, Mixon, Saquon, week 17. So next week, should he play Saquon? Or sorry, should he play Sony and Mixon? Henderson said they have an ankle injury, but Akers might come back. I'm
Henderson
with
has
James.
a knee sprain. I think it was.
I'm benching Saquon here, James. I'm going with Sony and man, this one's tough.
No hesitation.
Yeah, you're benching Saquon.
No,
You got to.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So moving on to the receiving side of the Rams here, Cooper Kupp had a relatively tame game.
10 catches.
Good
The
football
new
game.
Cooper Kupp standard.
No, but you're right. You're right.
21.3 fantasy points PPR.
This is well under his average.
It is. It's still very good for your fantasy teams, but yes, it is. I'm sure some people are disappointed they didn't get more. Them and the Jonathan Taylor managers. OBJ, he again reinforces this week that he is the solid wide receiver 2 option on this team. Van Jefferson, he had 1 reception on 6 targets for 6 yards. OBJ had 4 receptions on 8 targets for 37 yards and a touchdown. Is there any sort of ambiguity here in your guys' mind about who's the number 2 in the pecking order on this Rams receiving core? Simon?
No, Cooper Kupp's clearly the 1, and then it's probably OBJ is the 2 right now. That's how.
Are you confident start throwing him in a lineup next week?
Yeah, I mean,
week in and week
something that gives you a lot of confidence here is this Rams passing offense. So even if he ends up being the number 3 on the week, the number 3 option for the Rams passing offense can usually still be a pretty good fantasy option. But I view him as the 2, and there's all the upside in the world being the 2 in this offense. So I'm cool with it.
Josh, what about you? How do you feel about OBJ?
He's absolutely a top end wide receiver 3, so probably a flex play in a lot of leagues.
Okay. So moving on to the Minnesota side of this ball, Alexander Mattison filled in dutifully for Dalvin Cook this week. 13 attempts for 41 yards and a touchdown. And then 3 receptions on 4 targets for 29 yards. Got 16 PPR fantasy points. Pretty solid. Sure, not much to speak about there. Hell yeah, James. Well done.
Nice job, James. Killed it. That's what the whole point of this is.
Josh will send you some Bitcoin.
Yeah. Give me your fax number. Give me your fax number, and I'll give you your gift you earned.
Yeah, legally, we are not sending you Bitcoin. Anyway, moving on.
Give me your fax number, and I'll try.
Illegally, though.
I'll fax it over.
FanDuel's gonna text me like, we gotta stop making that joke. It's not funny anymore.
No, I mean, no. If someone gives me their fax number, I'll fax them some Bitcoin. Like
this is the tiniest amount. So on the receiving side of this Vikings team, Justin Jefferson, of course, led this offense, which he has done week in, week out. I don't think there's much to talk about there. Adam Thielen, he was back this week, but he did aggravate his ankle in the first half. He has a high ankle sprain that he's dealing with. He did aggravate in the first half. He did come back, but he finished the game with 3 receptions on 3 targets and 40 yards. KJ Osborne, on the other hand, he had another touchdown this week. It's 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. He's had 3 touchdowns. This week, 17.8 PPR fantasy points. Is Osborne worth considering going into next week, assuming, with Thielen's ankle injury, the fact that it can be aggravated, high ankle sprain is not something that just goes away. It's something that takes time to heal. Are you guys at all confident in throwing KJ Osborne in your lineup?
Not more than OBJ. No, like if we're talking on that scale, I'd rather start Odell Beckham Jr. than KJ Osborne, even with Thielen out.
Absolutely. I concur.
What about Van Jefferson or KJ Osborne?
That's close.
With Thielen out, I'll go KJ.
Yeah, with Thielen
in, I'll go Jeff. Me and Josh are, I feel like we're in sync today,
well, even with Thielen in, like you said, JL, he's not 100%. He re-aggravated today. Granted, he was able to come back into the game, but he's nowhere near the Thielen that he has been. So I like KJ Osborne. I'd do him over. I would start him over Van Jefferson, and I think he's a solid flex play.
Yeah.
All right.
But if Adam Thielen played, I would start Van Jefferson still actually over KJ Osborne.
That's good to know.
Guys, that's it for this game. We are going to move on. I don't even know how to intro this next game. I'm so confused. Like the Houston Texans beat the Los Angeles Chargers.
They did
41-29.
41-29. That was the score. That was the score. Hey, you guys want to know what the spread was? Do you guys know?
It's like 10 points for the Chargers.
You wish it was 10 points. It was 13 points.
I was going to say, you didn't let me answer. I was going to say 13 and a half.
It was 13 points. It was the largest spread of the week, kind of by far, by 2.5 points, which is pretty large. So no one in their right mind was picking the Houston Texans to beat the Chargers in this game, but somehow they freaking pulled it out. And it blew my mind, honestly, too. It blew my mind. No one saw this coming. Herbert had a very disappointing game, if we're being honest. Keenan Allen with an even more disappointing game probably correlates to Herbert's disappointing game. Herbert had 27 completions, 336 yards, and 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions, which really kind of hurt his fantasy game. Now, that led Keenan Allen to having 6 targets, 4 catches, and 35 yards, no touchdowns, no nothing. So you're really disappointed to see Keenan Allen have this game, but we're still starting both these guys going into next week, guys, right? Like we're not even considering benching.
No hesitation.
It's Denver. They have a good defense, but these guys are locked and loaded.
Barely nowhere, so I'll start them, no problem.
JL, you agree?
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Bravo, Simon.
All right. So Justin Jackson, now that's the standout here. Justin Jackson had a fantastic game. He only had 11 carries, 64 yards, but 2 touchdowns. He had 9 targets, 8 catches, and 98 yards. He pretty much took the Austin Eckler role for this game. So I don't know if there's a lot to take away from this, however, because Eckler, he was out for COVID. I think there's a very good chance that Eckler is back. And if Eckler's back, he's a must-start running back. He's a top 5 running back. We're not even talking about this. If Eckler's out, Jackson is a top 12 running back for me going in next week against Denver. Disagree with me. I dare you. JL, try it. I see you smiling over there. I see you smiling. Tell me he's not a top 12 running back.
Oh, God. I'll put him outside the top 12. I'll put him outside the top 12. I don't know if they're going to – they do tend to – they just load up Austin Eckler usually. So, like, they could – just do that again this week, but it's also a weird game. You wouldn't think with this game that the game script would go so heavily in Justin Jackson's favor, but a receiving work definitely does. He's close. I would put him outside the top 12, but I put him close to the top 12.
James says he's a top 86 RB with Eckler in.
Yes.
Maybe.
That's so sure.
You know, Josh, I really thought this was going to be more of a split. I didn't think Justin Jackson was going to get like all of the work or the work that he did here. So I guess it was only 11 carries, 8 receptions, but I really thought Kelly would be a little bit more involved.
They were down.
So yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I think you're probably right saying that he's a top 12 running back
in PPR.
In PPR, if Eckler's out with the way they used him today and the current running back landscape. And Allen in here, I just thought it was funny. He said, I'm sure someone made a desperation play of Burkhead and Justin Jackson, and they are.
I saw it on Twitter.
Oh my gosh, what a day! That would be so much fun to have to
imagine being the person playing against that guy. I would just quit. I'd quit fantasy football altogether.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be back.
You couldn't. You can't.
You're right. I'd want to.
Jay,
help me.
What do you think?
Please,
Justin Jackson, top 12 running back next week. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting that type of work. I mean, PPR specifically. But yeah,
JL's the loser then. Let's go.
Gentleman's bet. No, I'm not taking that gentleman's bet.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's actually a good bet for you, I think.
We need somebody to pay out some other ones before I take any other bets.
Paying out is what you're doing right now, making fun of us for being wrong. That's how gentleman's bet.
I think there was an animal.
No, there was an animal
noise. I don't even remember the bet. Did you go back and check the footage because we were just going on hearsay. We're going on remembrance.
No, don't you dare misremember. JL and I had New Orleans because
I don't remember exactly.
Paul Blart.
It was New Orleans to cover this. New Orleans to cover the spread.
Simon, do you agree with these guys?
I was wrong. So whoever agreed with me was also wrong.
Oh man! All right. So at the end of the show, let's make
I didn't listen to anything you guys said. If we're being honest, all I know is I lost that bet. So whoever was on my side, we lost.
End of the show, I'll make a horse noise for you for sure.
Okay.
Also, guys, one more thing on the Charger side of the ball. But still, we're starting Keenan Allen. We are starting Justin Herbert. We're not even talking about this. Justin Jackson, he's in our lineup if Eckler's out. If Eckler's in, it's absolutely still an Eckler, a must-start top 5 running back. I just wanted to mention that Josh Palmer is a great dynasty buy. I'll leave it at that. Great dynasty buy.
Great dynasty.
I'll leave it at that.
And
now let's go to the Texans side of the ball.
If real quick, if Mike Williams isn't able to get out of the COVID protocol, he could be a desperation flex play. Palmer, that is.
Keenan Allen's getting a little bit older. I just say in terms of dynasty now. Keenan Allen's getting a little bit older. Mike Williams could be out of there soon. Josh Palmer could be the wide receiver one crazily somehow for Justin Herbert at some point in the near future.
Yeah, they don't draft anyone.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the most likely scenario. I'm just saying if you could get him on the cheap,
it is a possibility.
Yeah. So Texan side of the ball, Davis Mills, he continues to impress the hell out of me. I'm going to be honest. No Brandon Cooks this game, so you really couldn't expect much when it comes down to it. I think the Texans should consider rolling with him as their starter for the 2022 season. I'm not saying they shouldn't make it a competition at all.
But he did this against the Chargers.
I know. Davis Mills is pretty good. I think
Josh, I got a loaded question for you.
Hit me.
Oh, jeez.
Dynasty.
Oh no, it's going to be Trevor Lawrence.
Let's say
that's what you're about to hit me with.
I send you a trade offer to Davis Mills for Trevor Lawrence. Are you accepting?
I'll take Trevor Lawrence. I'll take Trevor Lawrence.
That proved absolutely nothing.
Davis Mills in a second round pick.
Make it a late first and a man.
I second.
In a super flex league. In a non-super flex league, I'm taking that trade all day. I mean, I'll drop Davis Mills and keep the second round pick.
Right.
Meals.
You'll drop Davis Mills, but what about Davis Mills?
Hasn't Davis Mills impressed you guys, though?
Yes.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I think, Josh, if I were the Texans, I'd be giving him a shot to be the starter next year. Not that he's shown enough to say, let's see what this kid's got in my eyes. I think it would be stupid of them not to give him, a longer leash and see what he can do.
They've got so much that they have to fix on this team. They'd be stupid to not at least give him a shot, build around the offensive line, the defensive line. Yes. Maybe they found their guy. If not, they're not going to be good anytime soon. They'll be able to
get another high draft pick and keep building.
Right.
Exactly. And it's not a loaded quarterback draft class coming up, So unless they have one of the quarterbacks that teams are kind of hoping to get. I'm going to say Deshaun Watson. We'll see if the off the field issues play out, whatever. But yeah, at this point, I would just roll with Davis Mills. But speaking of dynasty buys, I know we just mentioned Josh Palmer. I think Nico Collins is a pretty good dynasty buy as well. All right. So if you can get him on the cheap, I like Nico Collins actually more than Josh Palmer when it comes down to it. So
yeah, I like Nico Collins a lot too.
But I buried the lead a little bit.
You
Rex
did.
Burkhead. 22 carries, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches. Guys, this was not a fluke. Rex Burkhead kind of looked really good. I know the Chargers aren't known for the rushing defense, but going against San Francisco next week, we kind of talked about it, but I think I lean him over Saquon at this point. So it's crazy. So
that's
I
vile.
guess go ahead and start Rex Burkhead as a
running back 3 on the week currently
flex.
Going into Sunday Night Football.
High-end RB3 going to next week probably. Right, guys?
That's preposterous. That is absolutely preposterous. But yeah, I agree.
It's worth mentioning that the Chargers, if David Johnson's play for sure, and it's worth mentioning the Chargers' run defense is abysmal. It's not good. They're
getting better the last couple of weeks.
It has, but still, it's not the best. So
not anymore. I bet if you look at the past 4 week stats with Rex Burkhead going off for
better from poop,
definitely
slightly better poop. I mean, it's not that much.
I hear you, Josh. Though it hasn't been the train wreck that we saw through the first part of the season, but yeah, they're making their money in the pass defense category, generally.
Yeah, and Brandon Cooks, if he plays next week, he's at least a high-end wide receiver 3, maybe a back-end wide receiver 2 still for me. We just talked about Davis Mills. He's impressing. So I would trust Brandon Cooks. He has COVID this week, but that's really it.
Yeah. Guys, we're going to move on to our next game, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals pulling this one out 41-21. And boy, oh boy, dynasty wide receiver number 1. I'm going to say it. It's not my game, but man, T. Higgins, you beautiful man. You did it. Let's pull that comment back. Man. Where did that comment go? T. Higgins, dynasty wide receiver 1.
Find it.
Well, fun fact for you guys. This is the first time since the 2009 season that the Bengals have swept both the Ravens and the Steelers in the same season.
I'm sick.
Bengals, yeah, I know that you guys got to be hurting.
But they didn't sweep the Browns, right? Do we still have to play them again?
The Browns swept themselves.
Story
That's
of the
a
day,
very good point.
Joe
Cleveland,
Burrow,
they have to play each other one more time.
And we already beat them. And we beat them 41-16.
because football.
Yeesh.
Makes no
Because
sense,
football.
but- Joe Burrow, 525 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers, and he even chipped in 11 yards on the ground. The man went absolutely ham.
Wait, how
I
many
watched
passing,
this
how
game.
many passing yards?
I'm sick. I'm sick watching this.
525 passing yards.
520. I think that's more
Okay,
than
it's
Trevor Lawrence has on the whole season.
Probably more touchdowns than he has in the
My
season too.
God.
But he carried the Bengals. He carried fantasy teams. He probably won some people some money in FanDuel too. So not really much to say except he played great. Next week is a matchup against Kansas City, who gives up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So question, next week, regardless of format, is Joe Burrow a must start?
Yeah. Maybe
he's
not
a-
a must start.
He's a
but
back
he's
end
a great
QB1.
start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Back end QB1, which is where I've had him ranked most of the season, and I'll continue to rank him that way. But man, what a good game.
Yeah, what could potentially be a shootout. Kansas City doesn't gives up a lot to the quarterback, so I think he is a must start. I mean, it would be very hard pressed to find somebody else I'm willing to start, regardless of the format. But not only did you
realistically, I'll start Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and that might
Matthew
be the end of the
Stafford.
list. Maybe Matthew Stafford. No, that might be the end of the list. And then we have a conversation. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. I'm not saying that's where I'm ranking him.
Right.
That's where the conversation starts for me.
But Joe
Wow.
Mixon, Josh, just fist pump down, past JL down there. Thank you. Joe Mixon had another good game. That was a disaster. 65 yards on the
Connecting.
ground, 1 touchdown. What? Look like I'm in Jersey Shore. Joe Mixon, 18 rushes, 65 yards, and a touchdown. He also chipped in 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Just a monster game. Joe Mixon must start. No question. RB1 rest of the season, which is 1 game. Joe Burrow, like I said, chipped in 11 rushing yards. T. Higgins, Dynasty wide receiver 1. Not really, but
We're not
Jamar
saying
Chase.
that.
No, we're not. It's a joke, kind of, maybe. Is it
Kind of.
Jamar Chase, I think it's turned into, like, we've been saying this for weeks on this show, that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins it's a 1 and 1A situation. They're both high-end wide receiver 2s that when, there's a big game like this, that they're going to have monster days. So T. Higgins, 12 catches, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 7 catches, 125 yards. Tyler Boyd caught a touchdown as well. I think everybody pretty much agrees that Jamar Chase is a top 10, potentially top 5 dynasty wide receiver. So this is a serious question for all of you guys from a dynasty perspective with T. Higgins. T. Higgins is a top blank dynasty wide receiver. And
10.
Simon, since you, sir, can I get to the question? Can I ask the question?
I think you asked it already. You just didn't hand it off yet.
You
didn't hand it off.
Okay.
I was rudely interrupted. So now, JL, we're going to go to you first.
Yes, I love it.
Are you done asking? I'm afraid to answer.
Yes, JL.
I would say top 15. I would say top 15.
Yes,
Gosh.
that's what I would say too.
Simon.
I honestly think both these guys are top 10 fantasy dynasty wide receivers. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They are both top 10 guys in my eyes. Jamar Chase, a top 3 guy. T. Higgins on that 10 line.
Yeah, I'm more in line with JL and Josh. I do think that he has the potential to be that top 10, but he did disappear for a little bit at the beginning of the year. Granted, dealing with different things, but he's definitely got the potential. He's still young enough. I definitely could see it turning into a Mike Evans and Chris Godwin situation where you are perfectly fine with either one of these guys on your team.
Before they drafted,
Change your mind to top 12.
Before they drafted Jamar
Chris
Chase,
Godwin or him.
I'll take
I'll
T.
go
Higgins.
I'll go Godwin.
I'm still going
Godwin.
Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin might wind up on a new team next year, but I'm still going Godwin.
Before they drafted Higgins, or before they drafted Chase, T. Higgins was a top 12 dynasty wide receiver in my eyes. When they drafted Chase, he dropped down to like a top 15 to 20. And now that I've seen they can both have success, I'm moving Higgins back up into that top 10 to 12 range. So that's where I'm not as nervous about Jamar Chase in this offense anymore as I was.
They're going to eat into each other, though. There's going to be Chase weeks. There's going to be Higgins weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most teams are going to be like that, though. Almost, I would say like probably
a lot of teams have. I would say like
ones. Yeah, but it's still you're going to have the consistency issues.
It caps both of their upsides. Well, that's why for me they're both more of wide receiver. I am wide receiver 2s versus wide receiver 1.
I mean, when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are healthy, I view them both as wide receiver 1s, and this is a situation where I'm viewing it similarly. And I don't think there's many teams in the NFL where you can have that. Yeah, they do have Tom Brady throwing the ball.
Joe Burrow's better than Tom Brady. So.
Don't say it.
I'm just joking. I'm just
better dynasty asset.
Joe Burrow, obviously. So there's that. Well, I don't know. Tom Brady might play longer than Joe Burrow if
At this rate, he might.
Also, 23423 just going to drop in here and throw insults at the Browns fans like that. Yeah, it's over. I know. You didn't have to rub it in. That's okay though.
That's all right. But on the Ravens side of the ball, not a whole lot to talk about. Although Josh Johnson did, Josh Johnson 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. But you really, without Lamar under center, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. Mark Andrews continued to dominate. He's in that top tier with Kittle and Kelsey. Devonta Freeman didn't do much on the ground. Nobody really did. There's not really much to say. Rashad Bateman did catch a touchdown, but only had 4 catches for 26 yards. Marquise Brown, 5 catches for 44 yards. Nothing really to write home about. If Lamar Jackson is not under center outside of Mark Andrews, is there any pass catcher you guys are interested in starting?
I think you can start Hollywood, but that's about it.
Don't go chasing Proches.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah. Prochet looked really good, but I just think this is a thing where if Lamar's the starter, you're starting Hollywood Brown still, I think.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that one.
Yep. And I believe that's about it for this one.
Guys, we're going to move on to our next game. Before we do, though, I am so excited to draft so much Mark Andrews next year. I love a good tight end.
He's going to be expensive. I think.
That's okay. I'm drafting him everywhere. I'm in. Mark Andrews has made a believer out of me. Also, Maria coming in.
Shout out Maria for looking back.
Simon and Josh had.
We knew we lost already, Maria. Stop rubbing it in. Not
We're out on that one. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to our next game, though. And speaking of the Bucs, this next game is the Bucs game, the Bucs-Panthers game. And you know what? They were not lying whenever they said we were going to see some Sam Darnold today.
Panthers, not Lions.
The Panthers, one of those cats, one of those cats that all suck. All these cat teams are terrible. I hate it when I mix up my shitty cats. But these shitty cats going up against the Buccaneers only scored 6 points today. Sam Darnold and Cam Newton both couldn't get it done. Excuse me on that one. So guys, my question for you, the only question I had on the Panthers side, is there anyone that you want to start next week in your fantasy championships? A single player, DJ Moore, maybe Chuba Hubbard, Amir Abdullah.
That I want to? No, I don't want to. But the targets DJ Moore is getting are so solid that like a lot of fantasy managers are going to have him in their flex next week for sure. Especially
DJ Moore or Odell Beckham Jr.
Going OBJ.
Next week, DJ Moore and the Panthers play the Saints, so a very good defense. They're not as good against wide receivers as they are other positions, especially the running back. I probably lean OBJ, but DJ Moore's right behind.
Joe, what about you? Mr. Target Share.
Who do the Rams play?
Baltimore.
Oh,
it's OBJ.
It's OBJ. That the matchup makes the difference because OBJ did not have that much better of a game this week than
the
DJ
touchdown.
Moore. Right.
But OBJ is he's so much better odds of getting a touchdown every week.
So what about KJ Osborne or DJ Moore, JL?
DJ Moore.
Who's Minnesota playing? I'm pretty sure it's DJ Moore, but
the Vikings next week are playing the Packers.
Yeah, it's DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. But I honestly think that's where that line is now. DJ Moore, who at the beginning of the year you kind of viewed as a wide receiver 1, locked and loaded.
Yeah.
He's not anymore. He's a fringe flex type wide receiver with these other guys, with the OBJs, the Van Jeffersons, the KJ Osborns, the Gabriel Davises whenever he's healthy. That's the range you got to look at DJ Moore, and it is only because of the offense that he is in. On the Tampa Bay side, Antonio Brown was a slam dunk start with the other injuries going on here. And you know what? He didn't get the touchdown, but he was still damn good for you. 10 receptions with 101 receiving yards in a PPR league that's over 20 fantasy points. FanDuel scoring over 15. You're pretty happy there. And you know what? Ronald Jones showed up as well. The players that were supposed to show up mostly did in this game. So Ronald Jones, 20 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown, adding a little bit through the air as well. When Lenny's out, it looks like you can just trust Ronald Jones. Josh, if Leonard Fournette is out again next week, you've got full trust plugging Ronald Jones in. I know Keyshawn Vaughn saw some work today as well. Oh yeah, he is.
So Ronald Jones is going to be the guy next week, and they're playing the New York Jets next week, guys.
The Jets.
Ronald Jones might be a freaking top 5 running back next week.
Oh boy.
Getting 20 carries against the New York Jets. Can you imagine with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense?
That's what I was expecting from James Robinson this week, but
so Ronald Jones.
James Robinson plays for the Jaguars. You know what I'm saying? The Buccaneers running back is a little bit more exciting at the same time, you know?
Josh, my question for you. So the Chargers going up against the Broncos. Would you rather start Ronald Jones next week or Justin Jackson if Eckler's out?
Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones. Jay, is it Ronald Jones for you?
Yeah, it's got to be Rojo. That's a tough question, though.
That is it. JL, what about you?
It's Ronald Jones.
It's Ronald Jones. Any interest in Keyshawn Vaughn, guys? He did get a touchdown today as well.
It was a very long touchdown.
Yeah, he broke a long one.
Yep, I'm with you guys. No interest from me there. We are going to move on to our next game, though. The Detroit Lions versus the Atlanta Falcons, two of the truly premier teams in the NFL this season. The Falcons were able to win it, stopping the Detroit Lions winning streak 20-16.
Yeah, Lions, apart from already being horrible, had some really bad a lot of inactive players. Yeah, no Jared Goff, unfortunately. No DeAndre Swift, who was inactive this game. Tim Boyle was filling in for Jared Goff. Did not put up.
Hawkinson's on the IR. Like, their offense is decimated.
Yeah. Brock Wright was the leading tight end, whoever that is. Yeah. Tim Boyle was filling in for Jared Goff. Not super impressive. Craig Reynolds filling in for DeAndre Swift. He had 11 attempts for 29 yards and 4 targets, 3 receptions, 22 yards. Jamal Williams led the backfield, 19 attempts for 77 yards. Both were kind of disappointing, not super useful for fantasy purposes. Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, continued his target volume spree. He had 11 targets, 9 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown, as well as 2 rushing attempts for 19 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown has really impressed me in the last second half of this season. Since he started getting targeted very heavily. How are you guys viewing Amon-Ra St. Brown going into next season? He's a rookie this year, so he'll be going into his sophomore season next year. How are you guys viewing Amon-Ra St. Brown? Josh, I'll start with you.
I'm super impressed. I was kind of out. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was like, Jared Goff, he wasn't the starter, but he still produced and he looked great. Going into next season, I'm pretty high on him. I'm not going to be overdrafting him, right? I'm still going to be, but
at least you're honest.
You will be, Simon. You said?
Oh, it's on. I'm way too in. I'm so in on him.
You're so in. So you sound higher. You sound higher than me. I'm not going to be drafting him as one of my starting 2 wide receivers. I'll tell you that much.
I think I will next. I am probably way too high on him now, but man, has he made me a believer in that he's doing this in this Detroit Lions offense. Like, we can make as many excuses in the world for him this year, and he's still performing down the stretch. So I'm bought in. I think he's going to be great next year.
I'm pumping the brakes a little bit for next year. He's doing this with no
brakes on this train
with no DeAndre Swift. While I do think, he's more of a wide receiver 3 maybe a back end wide receiver 2. If somebody's, all in like Simon and willing to, give up high end wide receiver 2 value for him, then I think he might be somebody you should look to trade in dynasty formats if you can get that type of value, because he's never going to be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. I just don't see it. He's not that type of talent. So I like him. I think he's somebody that is, especially right now, I think he's a fantastic play. I'm still going scary Terry.
It's easy
This
for
one's
me.
not close for me at all.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Just to let you know, I'm excited about Amon-Ra St. Brown, but this one is not even close. It is
And I did want to say shout out to Mr. Scampers for the
Come Here Now has a
Homeward
good one.
Bound, the tribute that
no Homeward Bound spoilers in the chat, guys.
Yeah, shush.
But Come Here Now
years.
Come Here Now as the best one, I think, comparison.
I'll take St. Brown.
Yes.
I'm going St. Brown.
This one's close, but I'll go
Eileen
St. Brown.
Mooney, guys.
I don't blame you. Mooney's been impressive this year as well.
I think Eileen Mooney too. That is very close.
I think Mooney has showed
true.
his elite talent throughout the year. I know this is his second season, so he's got a leg up on St. Brown and maybe a better offense. I'd say so, but Mooney, he is a great deep threat. If someone's able to hit him on these deep routes, he would be a fantasy stud. No one can.
Also,
Guys, right, exactly.
Come Here Now, Beach 89 said, thank you, Josh. You're my favorite analyst on this panel. And then he got yelled at by Nightbot. Nightbot said, let's rock. Stop spamming caps. Warning. We got in trouble.
I like how it starts nice, though. Let's rock.
Let's rock, but do it again or you're dead.
Yeah.
And
he goes, oops. She goes, oops.
Oh, man, that one was pretty funny.
Man,
Craig
that
in
is
here
fun.
had a trade. I traded
Ooh.
Amon-Ra and Allen Robinson.
Still
for
feel
Devontae
good about
Adams,
that.
and
You
there
feel
was
very
all the
good about
Rodgers
that.
drama going on.
Yeah.
So you're pretty good on that one. That still worked out in your favor.
So moving on to the other side of this ball, to Atlanta, it was pretty uneventful. I feel like Matt Ryan had a Matt Ryan type game. Cordero Patterson somewhat disappointing. 7 attempts for 14 yards and a rushing touchdown, and 2 targets, 1 reception for -1 yards. What are you guys doing with Cordero Patterson next week? Are you confident throwing him in the lineup?
There was a report like 2 weeks ago saying they wanted to limit his touches going forward, and since then, that's what we've seen. Two catches last week, 1 catch this week, only 7 carries against the Lions. He scored a touchdown early. I don't know. I'm a little concerned against Buffalo next week. You're probably still in their lineup. He's in your lineup.
Yeah,
got to be concerned. Yeah,
I'm with you, Josh. I completely agree. The other thing is, I know I've made the joke a couple times so far, but this is a player that probably did kill a lot of seasons. That he got you to this championship, he got you here, and then you plugged him in, and probably ended a couple seasons in the lineups. That happens, but I'm not sure how many people are making that decision next week if they've been trusting Cordero Patterson all year. But how do you take him out of your lineup? I don't think you can.
A lot of people are expecting that if there's a matchup to play, a running back in, it's against the Lions.
Yeah.
Second to the Jets, of course. But, it's very alarming. And Buffalo is not a very easy run defense. Russell Gage is also pretty disappointing. 4 receptions on 5 targets for 39 yards and a fumble. Jay, are you confident throwing Russell Gage in your lineup after last week? He had a pretty good week.
Honestly, no. The thing with Russell Gage is he's had a pretty safe floor, but it looks like Kyle Pitts had a little bit of a coming out party. He had a pretty solid game. The big thing is the matchup for me going up against Buffalo. Unless it's a dire situation, and I've liked Russell Gage a lot, but I just you can't trust him with that matchup. With this type of game, this offense this isn't one unless you're desperate outside of Kyle Pitts that you're really looking to start anybody.
Yeah, Kyle, and just as a last note here, Kyle Pitts did have 6 receptions on 6 targets for 102 yards. Still not really getting in the end zone much, but the targets are there, the yardage is there, which is great. You love to see that. And
speaking of Pitts, we're going to move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
What a transition.
You like what I did there?
Solid segue. Son.
Guys, the whole season, I haven't done it. The Kansas
City
like
Chiefs
beat up on the Pittsburgh Steelers 36-10 today, though, so suck it, Steelers. Just kidding.
Yeah, it was as a Browns fan, Simon, as a Ravens fan over here, we were at least, we could take joy in at least seeing one of our division rivals get beat up on as well. I guess the Browns didn't get beat up on. That was a close game, but it was heartbreaking, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers lost 36-10. Ben Roethlisberger looked bad. Ben Roethlisberger is done. He is not the answer. I know there are reports saying he was done after the season. They have to get out of Ben Roethlisberger. Does anyone disagree with me? I dare you.
No, but Josh, the way you said it made me think of like someone on the street selling newspapers, like Ben Roethlisberger, bad. Get him out of town. like just like these shitty newspaper headlines.
Yes, so don't consider playing him next week whatsoever. Najee Harris, disappointing, 19 carries, 93 yards, 5 catches, 17 yards. Disappointing ending stat line, but again, you're not benching him. There's no way you can consider benching him in fantasy. He's always on the field, getting so many carries, so many targets. He's a fantasy stud, period, right?
Yeah.
Now, Deontay Johnson, we were a little bit nervous. He did end up with a pretty good stat line, 6 catches, 9 targets, 51 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a fumble, however, but he scored a touchdown late. This whole offense is making me a little nervous. Are we nervous about Deontay Johnson at all going into next week? I'm not starting anyone else, maybe Pat Freiermuth, because just he's part of that blob of tight ends. But Deontay Johnson is someone I'm a little bit nervous about going into next week.
The legal term is glob.
Yeah, the glob. I apologize. The Steelers are playing Cleveland next week, who have a decent defense. Are we nervous about Deontay Johnson at all? I'm still starting him with confidence. Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm still starting him. He's getting the target still. Yeah, we're sad about Big Ben and what his arm has become, but you still got to start Deontay Johnson.
Jay?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're no confidence whatsoever, but it would be very hard to find somebody that would be on your bench on waivers that you'd be willing to start over him.
Jay?
I'm with you guys. DJ and Najee Harris are the only two I'm playing on this team. Pat Freiermuth, if he's even active next week.
Yeah.
And James Washington, if it's an emergency.
No.
Just kidding.
Ray McLeod.
No.
I had to play James
Just
Washington.
everyone shut their mouth. Everyone shut their mouth.
Start Ray McLeod.
On the other side of the ball, the Chiefs, they blew it up. Patrick Mahomes, he is a start going into next week. He's going to be in every fantasy lineup. Now, the running backs, I think there's not a lot to take away here. Gore did have the most carries. He had 12. Williams with 11. We heard Kai Edwards-Helaire might be out next week. I think it's going to be Damian Williams, though. I'm not Damian. Darrell Williams. If it's next week,
Damian Williams is coming back to this team. Josh guaranteed.
He was great. He was like the Super Bowl MVP. But next week, seriously, Darrell Williams is going to be a must-add if Clyde Edwards-Helaire does not play next week, which it looks like that might be the case. I much prefer Darrell Williams over Gore, and it's not even close. JL, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Josh.
Jay, you?
Yep, 100%.
And then Simon.
I forgot the question, but
Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams is a must waiver wire add.
Yeah. I actually, you know what? I take it back. I do agree with you, but I'm not super confident that it's not going to be Derek Gore with more carries.
Really? So you are a little concerned that Derek Gore is going to be very involved next week. I almost said hella involved next week.
I
never say hella either. That is weird. That is weird.
Involved, right, Simon?
So for me, I think it's Darrell Williams' job. As long as they are in a semi-competitive game, I think Darrell Williams will get the majority of work. So that's just me. Brian Pringle went off. He had 2 touchdowns, but Tyreek Hill is still the one to have. I take it like the Packers number 2 wide receiver. I'm not starting one of the other wide receivers outside of Tyreek Hill because Travis Kelce will be back next week, right, guys?
I hope so.
I hope so.
He should be. He almost
played nowhere.
But when it comes down to it, pick up Darrell Williams. You have to. Maybe in a pinch, you can start Gore if Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't play. Must starts. Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce next week. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Honestly, guys. And guys, before we jump off for the day, I wanted to make sure we had time to pay out on the bet that we talked about before this. So Josh and I have a little bit of a bet to pay out. Josh, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Oh.
No, you were going to go solo. We had to make you big and everything.
Well, now you get to do it. Now you get.
Is it a horse or is it any animal?
Anteater.
I'll do a horse. Bro.
That was horrible. That was so bad. I'm sorry.
That horse
That was-
stubbed its hoof.
That was like a
Penis.
well-versed horse. Like he knows what he's talking about.
Hello, I'm a horseman.
I'm
Okay,
smart.
guys, that was paying out on the bet that we had last week on Sunday Night Football. Josh and I lost. We picked the Buccaneers minus 11.5. And
Let's do it again
did not-
tonight. Let's do it again tonight.
I was just about to
Okay.
say.
I'm down. Let's do it.
What's the spread on the Washington game, Josh?
It was actually it changed. I was just looking at it and it changed to 10. I think the Cowboys are actually all the things I was talking about changed. Like seriously, like the line changed towards what I was talking. Like
Nothing
so,
is
like
the
I guess
same.
people they heard me saying it and they bet on it.
Yeah,
But now
the
the spread
FanDuel
is
Sportsbook was in here. And they
no,
heard
now
Josh
it's
say it.
7. Guys, it switched the other way. I swear, I was looking at during the.
So what's the line we're betting on, Josh?
Oh, because the game already started. It's because the game's going on.
So these are live lines. Okay.
Yes, these are live lines. I'm sorry. It was 9. It was 9.5. It was 9.5 going into the game.
10. It was
So
10
let's say-
points.
It was
10 points
10.
according to Action Network.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
take
so
that.
if it's
10.
10 on the nose, then we all have to do a horse noise.
Okay.
then we all lose.
Well, but I'll take the a 10. I'll take the football.
At 10 points.
Josh taking the football team.
I'll take football team to cover that as well.
We're all
Yeah,
going to
I
be on the
guess-
same side. Watch.
Well, I was gonna take football team, but whatever. I'll take Dallas.
Oh, good. I was gonna be the sucker who took it.
Yes.
So one person was
Yes.
on the other side. So I'll
Yes,
also take
Josh.
football
I'm ready.
team.
I'm ready
Josh,
on the
so
board
we
right
got-
now.
Whatever.
we
I'll
got
do it.
Jay
You know
on
it's
the
not
other
going to
side.
happen if I don't write on the board. Whatever.
No,
Except for the one.
I took football team, just so you know. I was saying thought I was going to be the only sucker.
Oh, so
like
it's
I
just
was
Jay.
waiting. Yeah, I was going to be on the
Jay,
other side of all three of you guys.
Let's
I'm with you. I changed my mind. I went in saying I would take the Dallas Cowboys 9.5 points. I didn't feel good about it, but I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a big game. I think Zeke's going to score a touchdown. I'm in on the Cowboys. Let's go, Jay. You and me, buddy. Let's go.
There you
Cowboys,
go. Me and
Cowboys
you
are
guys
covering
do it.
that 10 points.
And guys, real quick before we jump off this, we got a question from Come Here Now Beach 89. He said, "I know you'll like this one, Josh. Elijah Moore or Jalen Waddle dynasty." So real quick, we'll give our
Waddle.
answers. I'm going Waddle. JL, are you Waddle as well?
Waddle,
Jay, you're
Waddle.
Waddle. And Josh, are you going
Yeah.
Elijah Moore or Waddle?
It's Waddle.
He got
It's
so
close.
serious.
It's
Waddle
close.
and very
Close.
serious.
That
Waddle.
look
Gentlemen,
back, that was
I just want JL go like this. I don't know if he did it on purpose. Okay, guys, that is going to be about it for us today. Like we mentioned, Sunday
you,
Night
Jesus.
Football already started. So make sure you guys go over there and watch some Sunday Night Football. Before we head out, though, a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button on this video on YouTube and make sure you're subscribed to FanDuel on YouTube as well. And while you're there, check them out across all other social platforms, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. They're at FanDuel on all of those. There's a whole team of awesome content creators helping you win your
Jay.
leagues and win some money. Mr. Scampers, thank you. And Craig, well done to you making it
Great
through
job,
the whole
Craig.
show. Maria says, have a great Sunday night, everyone. And we will second that. We will ditto that. Have a great Sunday night. And Come Here Now, Beach 89 saying, great show, great energy, enjoyed it.
Hey,
Thank you,
thanks,
Come
Beach.
Here Now, Beach. Have a good night as well.
Trayvon
Appreciate
Diggs
you.
just picked off Heineke, by the way.
Oh,
Let's go,
no. Let's-
Dallas, Jay, Dallas.
Woo! I'm just kidding.
I
I'm on the other
wrote
side.
Talking
it.
about-
Cowboys minus 10, Josh and Jay. Washington football team plus 10, Simon and JL, horse noise. Let's go.
Horse noise. We will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Until then, adios, everyone.
Bye.
Grady makes